First, I want to preface this by saying just showing up for grappling is one of the toughest things to do in all of sports. Your hygiene needs to be good. You need to have your nutrition on point. Your sleep needs to be good. And on top of that, you got to maintain all the other things in life that the average person does. You know, you got to stay up on work. You got to stay up on dishes. You got to stay up on, laundry. You have to keep your bed made. You got to do all of the normal things that everybody else does. But on top of that, you have to be an athlete as well. So don't bother going to competitions if you're already not doing the bare necessities. That means taking care of all of those things prior to being the athlete. Now you have to add the athlete into that. And so now you have to go to class 4 or 5 days a week, and you need to be training for upwards of 10 to 12 hours a week minimum. I mean, don't get me wrong, you should still be going to your 2 days a week minimum classes. Like, yes, if you go to class 2 days a week and you're getting your sparring rounds in at least, an hour in a day in each of those classes, then you're ready to go to competition. Theoretically, you're going to be able to go to that competition and know what you're going to be doing. But that doesn't mean that you are ready to compete. That doesn't mean that you're ready to compete at the higher level. That doesn't mean that you're just going to be on the podium. Now, if there's 3 guys in your bracket, and you're the third, then we know who did the least amount of work. It's obvious. But if there's 5 guys in your bracket and you get third, well, you're in the middle of the road, and that's pretty standard for the things. But if there's 30 guys in your bracket and you get third, you're in the top 10 percentile. And so that's how things go, and that's how you're measured. So when you go to these competitions, you should understand a couple of things. One, you need to know what your weight's going to be. You need to know what you weigh for the no-gi. You need to know what you weigh in the gi. You need to know basic fundamentals. So going to these local competitions and getting that figured out first, that's a good start. But the tournament rules are generally different at these local affairs. They're not like the IBJJF and whatnot, ADCC tournaments, where they have a very select rule set. And so the local tournaments tend to be a little bit more lenient as far as the procedures go. And it's because they're more about the numbers. They're trying to get more people involved, which I respect and like. So no knock on that. But you need to know the rule set for each place that you're going. And so like each place is different. Doesn't matter if you're in, if it's the same company running the things, then yeah, it's going to be consistent. But however, there are still rule changes to that stuff. There's some updates to the IBJJF recently, as everybody's getting ready locally here for the Portland tournament. But what I'm trying to get at is that you can't just show up to a tournament expecting to place. Now, I'd say on average, there's 5 guys in a bracket, and some days there's more, some days there's less. But if you get on the podium on that day, surely you should feel mildly successful. But if you are a grappler who this is what you do, you compete regularly, and you have been missing classes, you've been on vacation, you're not being diligent about your practices, your nutrition, and your sleep, then why would you assume that you're just going to get on top of the podium? That's a wild thought process. And so for you guys that are competing regularly, you can't go on vacation for a week or two and then show up a week later and expect to go win a competition. Likewise, you can't show up to just 2 days a week and expect to win competitions regularly. Yes, sure, there are going to be times where you're successful, and then it's going to lead you to believe that you could just do that kind of crap all the time. That's not true. That's not the way things work. That's not how competition is. Like, every weekend's different. Every thing it's going to be wildly, drastically different every time. So you got to have your head right at all times. That means you need to be aware of things that are going bad, like when the shit hits the fan. I do apologize for swearing, but when things get bad, you need to be able to stay in the match. And if you're not constantly working on the focus of being in the moment, you're going to lose that. you lose that intensity. You are going to lose the focus. They call it being in the zone. And if you're going to be a successful athlete at grappling, then you're going to need to be in the zone at the entire length of the match. And if you're a white belt, it's 5 minutes, big deal. If you're a blue belt, it's 6 minutes, but if you're a black belt at the adult level, it's 10 minutes. And to stay focused for an entire 10 minutes is very tough. I often have people say, I want to come train, I want to come fight. And I have to tell them, you need to be able to talk for 15 minutes straight without having an issue. You should be able to at least dictate, read a book for 15 minutes straight, stay focused on a task that is completely meaningless. It's almost tedious at times. You can't just think that you're going to get this focus out of nowhere. You have to hone that. You have to work on that on a daily basis. And that doesn't just come working on it 2 days a week in the gym. In fact, this comes after years and years of being diligent. That's why they say these kids, they're starting off at 7, 8 years old. They've honed that ability to stay focused in that time. And then when they are in competition, they're a much more sharpened sword. That's why you see some of these kids hitting these arm bars and triangles and rear naked chokes just like nothing. And it's incredible. Meanwhile, an adult who should practically get stuff a little bit better, should be able to understand, know how their body works and whatnot, they have a tougher time figuring it out. So you get lost sometimes thinking if a child could do it, I could do it. That's not necessarily how it works. That's kind of messing with your brain. You're playing games with yourself. But just think, if you are diligent, you don't have to go ham all the time. You don't have to win all your matches in class. You just need to be there doing the techniques. You need to be in there working on your guard passes. You need to know why you do what guard passes. And the understanding the whys is far more important than understanding like submissions. So if you want to be a successful grappler, understand the whys. And the whys start showing up to you and start becoming available to you after you've put in hours and hours of work. Not something that you could just turn off and on. You're not that kind of athlete. If you were that kind of athlete, you surely wouldn't be going to these local events and doing local things. But please go to these local events, practice them, get better at them, and then you can go to the bigger tournaments where you won't feel so bad for traveling thousands of miles and possibly losing in your first match, because that's the tough part. You need to really think about your mindset, like when you're tired, why you're feeling tired. It's because your brain's trying to trick you. It's like the devil is trying to trick you into thinking you can be done. This is enough. Everybody else is taking a break. BS. They are not. That other guy, if he even thinks about you working harder than him, he's going to be pressing harder. And so that needs to be your mentality too when you're thinking about taking a day off, or if you're thinking that you've worked hard enough. That is crazy. Dan Gable used to say he just imagined his opponent working harder than him, and then he would just start to get after it even more. And so that has to be your mindset. And I think that that's got to be the mindset for any grappler at any level for any amount of time. But I mean, if you're a guy that starts doing jiu-jitsu when you're in your 30s, that's not the same as a guy who starts doing it when he's 18, 19, 20, or even more so when you're 8, 9, 10. Okay, so like every 10 years is a huge difference for you, not just physically and mentally, but your athletic prowess changes over that time and that course. And I mean, once you get to 30, I mean, you still have a couple of years where it's going up, but it will rapidly deteriorate if you are consistent about the things. So being smart about your training, that's ACES, that's where it's at. Being in there, taking the time to do the things, but not going so hard that you're getting hurt, injuring your partners. Nobody wants to train with a guy that's 250 pounds and just tries to smash everybody. I know. I can speak from experience. But that means I want to train with other people. I need to learn other techniques. I can bolo. I can invert. Yes, I am a big fat slob, but I still have these abilities because I've worked on them. And no, it was not fun. No, it wasn't enjoyable working on myself and working on my worst attributes. But It's what you have to do if you're expecting yourself to be on top of a podium. You don't just go overseas to a tournament thinking, oh, I train twice a week, so I'm good to go. Or even if you train twice a week for 6 months, it doesn't matter. That's not good enough. And your effort is really what matters. So you got to try and talk to yourself. You got to mentally tell yourself that that's not good enough. You need to go longer periods of time and less intensity. I really, truly think that that's the key to success. Not so much that I need to be going hard and beating everybody in class and winning every single round. Now, there are times for that, but like there's shorter periods of time. They're like a day here and a day there, not necessarily every single round, every single day. That's how the toes get beat up, the fingers get beat up, the ears get beat up, and so on and so forth. So yeah, just stay diligent, stay after it, stay active, be persistent about the things. And if you have questions, go to the next person. It's not always a black belt that has the answer. Believe me, I've gotten so many tricks from purple belts and blue belts over the years that it's just wild. But yeah, stay diligent, keep your eyes open. And here's the best piece of advice. Don't go into an academy thinking you know everything. And I see it all the time. I see white belts and blue belts talking in the locker rooms and off to the side of the mat on the cuck wall. You shouldn't be talking. You should be listening. You don't know diddly squat. If you want to be the smartest guy in the room, you need to listen to the other people first. You can't just be thinking that you learned an arm bar and so now you're going to be able to hit it on any guy in the street. You're wildly misappropriating the things. And it's mind-boggling to me to see how many men actually think this way. I'm not excluded. I'm speaking from experience on that too. I just had a shoulder replaced and I thought I was going to be good in just a couple of weeks. Here I am 3 full months out and I can barely even sleep on my arm. But like part of that is realizing where I stand physically, mentally, and emotionally for my healing. So that all goes for you competitors as well. You need to think about what it's going to be like after your tournament. Are you going to be visualizing you as a winner, or are you visualizing yourself as a loser? And that mental health, like that little self-talk, that's every day. That's got to be an everyday thing. And sometimes you're going to be met with and people that are going to really try and mess with that. Don't let that try and bother you. Don't try to let that sway you. Stay focused, stay on task, stay true to yourself. And all of a sudden these things start coming together. It's fun to see. It's fun to watch guys who hone all of their skills, not just for a tournament or a weekend here and a weekend there. These guys that are just diligent, getting after it, working on their faults, working on their weaknesses, making sure that they're sharing the good stuff. When you understand why you have to do something, share that with somebody else who doesn't know why. Being a good steward to the sport. That's the fun stuff. And then obviously making sure you're just the best training partner you can be. Showing up daily has an effect on other people. They get the mentality of, yeah, maybe I should show up too. And so then you've provided a culture for your academy where you are the standard and you are the person who everybody else wants to follow. These are tips that'll help you, guide you. These are tips that will help you be successful. I know that sometimes it's not always going to go your way. Yes, it would be great if you could go out there and get first every weekend, but kudos to those guys that are going out there and getting on the podium, but never give up, or the guys that just come up short a little bit here and there, and they're always scrapping to get better and better. They're trying to find the best competition. They're trying to find ways to get better, and cheers to you guys out there slaying it. I hope you did well today. I hope you do well tomorrow. Make sure you're getting your good food and make sure you're getting good sleep, and for crying out loud, make sure you're drinking your water. That was 15 minutes of talking, and I'm not saying I'm ready to go fight, but I am saying that I'm thinking it's about time to go get some scraps in. This shoulder's getting there, and I'm getting pretty excited. Cheers to those guys that are out there scrapping every day. I'm proud of you. Keep going. Os.